Hello, everybody. Our parsha informs us that when Yaakov was ailing, Yosef goes to visit his father, Bikur Cholim, taking along Menashe and Ephraim, his sons, with him. When he gets there, Yaakov recalls a bit of history and God's promise of Eretz Yisrael. And then suddenly he notices the two youngsters, and he turns to his son Yosef and he says, Mi'ela, who are they? And Yosef responds, Banaihem asher natan li Elokim bazeh. These are my sons whom God gave to me, bazeh. What does bazeh mean here? It actually seems to be extraneous. All Yosef had to say was, Banaihem asher natan li Elokim. These are my children, whom God bestowed upon me. Either way, Yaakov's response is, so bring them forward and let me give them a bracha. What does bazeh mean? So Onkelos and others like the Ibn Ezra and the Radak suggest that it means hacha. They were born to me here in Egypt. Now this seems very strange because as part of Yaakov's opening remarks, he references Ephraim and Menashe that he was aware that they were born in Egypt prior to Yaakov's arrival there. So what exactly is Yosef trying to inform his father of? And therefore, says the Ramban, having raised this question, and the Torah and the Abarbanel and others concur, that perhaps there's a different meaning for the word bazeh. Bazeh seems to be the context of which Yaakov spoke. Yaakov said to Yosef that Yosef's two children are like children of Yaakov himself. Ki Reuven v'Shimon yiyu li. I will treat them and regard them exactly as I regard my very own sons. And he's referencing, as I mentioned earlier, the two sons, Ephraim and Menashe. And so that's what Yosef is responding. Abba, what are you asking me, Elah, who are they? As if they're not worthy of blessing as you bless your children? They are. In the context of what you said, these are the very same children that you referenced, and therefore they are deserving of your bracha. Rashi interestingly brings down the idea that Yaakov was spiritually concerned, and therefore he's referred to in the pasuk as Yisrael, suggesting here a spiritual plane of conversation. And the grandfather looks at his grandchildren and he wonders about their worthiness of bracha. And so Yosef wants to show that these were not children that were born out of some dalliance or children born out of wedlock, but these are children who were raised in a proper Jewish home. And so he shows his father the ksuva and the shtar erusin that he had with Osnat. The Medrash takes it further, that not only did he show the documents, but he brought Osnat so that Yaakov could lay eyes on her as well. In fact, the Psikta Rabbah goes even yet one step further, and he said to his father, I understand that you question the spirituality of my children, and perhaps you wonder if I have raised them properly, but you should know that this woman, your daughter-in-law, is a tzadeket, bevakasha mimcha, afilu bishvil hatzadeket hazo. Even if you question me, I've become so involved in Egyptian society. Take a look at what Osnat did. She came and joined my household. Banaihem, these are my children. And she is a tzadeket. And on her merit alone, you should bless our children. The Kli Yakar fleshes this out a little bit more. And he says that what Yaakov was asking, Mi Elah, who are these boys? Where is their matrilineal descent? I know where you come from, Yosef, but who is their mother, who is a person of influence upon them? And so at first, Yosef says, Banaihem, I had the influence on them. Don't worry. Me, you know. I understand you question who the mother is, but you know me. And if you doubt their worthiness of bracha on account of a suspected matrilineal lineage of deficiency, then I implore you to look at your very own father, whom HaKadosh Baruch Hu deemed worthy of a blessing. Was he not exactly in the same position? What was his matrilineal descent? He comes from Rivka, who grew up in the idolatrous home of Bethuel with an unworthy brother such as Lavan. That's the influence and atmosphere in which she was raised, just as Osnat was raised in a home of idolatry, her father serving as a priest to Avodah Zarah. And just like Yitzchak was destined to have a child who was hardly a tzaddik, Esav, Harasha, I know that in the future lineage of my children Ephraim and Menashe, there will be wicked personalities such as Achav and Yeravam. But as God deemed Yitzchak, your father, worthy of bracha, so too I beseech you to give bracha to my children, Ephraim and Menashe. Look at them in the here and now. Very important message that Yosef shares with all of us. The Malbim takes it perhaps even one step further. Part of Yaakov's concern, says the Malbim, is that his grandchildren looked Egyptian, or to put it in modern terms, they're stylishly dressed, wearing Yankee baseball hats, but they look like nothing of their ancestors who came from the Shtetl of old. And so Yaakov questions, are these children really part of the fold? Look at them. How do I distinguish them from Egyptians? And Yosef responds, exactly that. Look at them. Banaihem asher natan li Elokim bazeh. These are my children. They were raised with my values. As I was raised with your values, you were raised with Yitzchak's, who was raised with my great-grandfather Avraham's. Don't look at the externals alone. See the inner core of who your grandchildren are. And Yaakov recognized the validity of Yosef's retort. Vayomar, and he said to his son, Kachem na elai v'avarachem, bring them to me, so that I can give them the proper bracha to continue the proud lineage of our family. Pnimiyut, the inner core of the person, is ultimately what matters most. Shabbat shalom u'mevarach.